just intense, just evacuating. My mid back pain went down, and so fiber is necessary to create that mass and that flow, but also viscosity. Like which I eat tons of butter and coconut oil, and that's great. But so I've really focused on getting a lot more fiber, and kind of back to your 6-pack abs thing is that my body comp is ideal at low carbohydrate, but my poop is better at a little bit higher carbohydrate. And it's been hard for me to take because I'm progressively coming back from, these, which we've talked about, these long-term spinal injuries from dance and, inner fascial problems and, problems with my knees because of dance. And I'm making actually headways, which I'll talk about in a moment on those, but I can't train at the level that I really desire to train, and not even just the level, just even a regular, at a regular way that you would at Train Life Fit. So I'm actually in a weird way, I'm eating the exact way I would if I was training regularly. If I was training regularly, I'm eating the amount of carbohydrate and just really the exact way that I would if I was training. But because I'm not training, I'm having the turnover into a little bit more body fat. And it's really hard for me to take because I like look in the mirror and I'm like, I have to make this decision. Like, do I eat for body composition or do I eat for my poop? And it's become such a problem at this point with the IBS and my health and my productivity that I have to make that choice first. And then over the long term, get my back and my, my knees in a place where I can continue to then build up my training, and the training itself will balance out the diet as I'm eating now. But it's been a very odd journey, but a very, I guess, enlightening one about do you prioritize the way you look over other things that are so detrimental, for me in particular. I have a very high weakness or deficient point in my gut, so that's been kind of my journey with that over the past couple of weeks, which is, I know, gross, but I mean, at the same time, it's super important, and people don't like earnestly talk about poop because there just seems to be like, it's either vulgar or it's, it's kind of like talked around, but one of those huge problems and what we were concerned about was that I had a infection, because as you get a backup of your poop, essentially like that's sitting there and you become like just completely overridden with the bacteria, and it can actually go into the pockets of the colon, segment them off, and really breed horrible bacteria and make you horribly sick.
Yeah, the sepsis probably.
Right, exactly. And so I thank God I didn't have that, but I mean, you really start to talk about, inflammation in your skin and like such subtle balances like that, based on toxins. Yeah. Well, I mean, how much toxin are you going to take if your poop's recycling into your bloodstream? And it will start to do that. So
that's
that's not good.
Yeah, it's not good at all. I think that's like that's a wellness decision, right? It goes back to the wellness thing. It's a wellness decision. Like
I can't kick ass in life if I'm toxic.
Exactly. And I think that's a great example, man. Like, I'm glad you shared. Thank you for sharing that first and foremost with everybody.
Thank you for sharing that gross enema stuff.
Because it's powerful because of also this, and I think maybe you can touch on this as well. Like when you talked about how you had this impacted bowel and it was affecting your back, it was turning off the muscles and you had back pain and all this stuff. I think that's really important for people to understand, because sometimes when they come to the gym and they're like, I can't feel this muscle or I can't feel that muscle. Sometimes it could be that the foods that you're eating are affecting your body. Now, I was wondering if you can touch on this. Like, I forget who said this, but they were saying that, say you eat some inflammatory food and then you're like having bloatedness and blah, 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 pain in your stomach, et cetera, et cetera. And in the next few days, you try to go in the gym and try to do some proper bracing work. But for some odd reason, we probably know why, but for some reason you cannot really feel braced.
Right.
Can you touch on like neurologically what's happening on like the neurological loop of what's happening?
Yeah. Sure. So kind of one of the aspects, right? In the spine, you have 90% of your nerves are actually autonomic. So that means like not within the control of skeletal muscles, like parasympathetic or sympathetic. And the parasympathetics go to all of your inner bowels and digestive system. And so your digestive system is controlled by parasympathetics, and they come out of basically your spinal level of, I want to say like lower lumbar, upper sacral, right? Because there's a plexus down there, which just means like a whole mess of crisscrossing nerves. But your upper and lower GI tracts can be controlled at even an overlap of like L1, L2, L3, like the vertebrae there, and when you have that bloating and that distension, you're actually putting pressure and tension on them, and you really can't they can't get the proper feedbacks. Also, when you have inflammation, you distort your proprioceptors, so you literally just can't discern your space and time, like where you are in space, like your kinesthetic awareness, your proprioception, like you can't feel what your muscles are doing and where they are, because there are confounding things that are actually kind of masking it, right? So you don't have a good touch. Then it also biomechanically changes you. I mean, it changes your center of mass. It changes like where you're going to move, where your body's positioned, and it's also going to tilt your. It's going to shift your upper back, or it's going to shift you at your diaphragm. It's going to shift you at the pelvis. So you have this like complete mechanical shift, proprioceptive blunting, and then you have actual pressure at the lower spine, in the low back. Because you have 5 lumbar vertebrae, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 5 is the bottom one. So 1 is the top one, right by the diaphragm, 2, then 3. So it goes down toward your butt. So like when you're really talking like L3, L4, L5, and then down to sacral 1 and below, you're really talking. It's actually all like organ function, and it's all pelvic organ function. So it's your reproductive organs, it's your urinary, your bowel, like basically most of your organ function comes from that area, and the control of everything in your pelvis. So any sort of distension there can have a myriad of effects. So one thing, interestingly, I guess Lauren talks about this, but like when women have their period and get that bloating, it's from a different source, but it's still the same bloat. So it does distort the brace. And so we have to systematically unload her during the bloating because the bracing issue. Yeah. And she's not a large girl, so like small distortions in her bracing can shift her left or right and can cause some problems, especially in her squatting. And can cause her to lean toward one knee or another knee, and like you just have a whole lot less room for error the smaller that you are, because the slighter the bone structure you have. So we've learned that she goes into more so less barbell loading, more unilateral, some more lunging, Bulgarian squats. She kind of does a little bit more on the cardio side, does a little bit more isolation work and bodybuilding, kind of stays away from, does light squatting and light drop bar deadlift, but not even a deadlift in front, because when you deadlift with the barbell in front of you, you have to orient your body forward, your torso forward, but you have to maintain not just a neutral spine, but this internally engaged brace from your butthole which
Yeah.
if you're bloated in the intestines, your butthole is just completely screwed up. That's didn't come out right. It's just not it's not really acting properly, especially the musculature surrounding it. But in women, you have the uterus and things like that are just not allowing you that brace, and it's even tougher to hold that there. Whereas in a trap bar deadlift, like, you have more of a mechanical centering. But even then, we do it light. Yeah. So she can usually squat in the 115 range. She squatted up to 135, but in the 115. Cool. 95 to 115 is probably where she spends most of her time, but she'll probably be down in like the 65, 75 range during the period. So I think it's very much the same thing. And I think that if you have a whole bunch of inflammation, like, and your gut's all bloated, like, step it back, like, totally step it back. Like that's wellness. That's intelligent decisions. And even as an athlete, like, you're not going to perform well. Which is why it's so huge that athletes eat properly and recover properly, because they want to think that the training will take them the whole way, but your training's right. But it's always the case until it's not, and then you have a day where you're all kind of like, you ate like crap, you went to Chipotle, and you think it's a good decision because you're like, oh, I don't know why soccer players are so attached to Chipotle, but I'll give them like guidelines, and they'll be like, well, is Chipotle still okay? And it's like, well, no, but I guess it's better than Taco Bell. But they come in bloated, and then they don't perform well. So
I'm glad you dropped some knowledge bombs on that, because that's important. That's the theme of today's podcast. Poop. But yeah, I think that's really important, is understanding when to step it back. And I thought it was kind of cool, like you talked about Lauren, because like a period is like, period, take a break, stop, like, step it back.
It's the end of the sentence.
The end of the sentence is like, take it back, and now like reevaluate everything. I think that's key. Like, there's no point in just like charging forward. I think that's the mentality, like you were saying. Everyone wants to just like let the training take them all the way to the end goal, but
that's impatience.
It's impatience. It's being super impatient, and we forget so many other things that have control over where we want to be. And I think that's really why we talk about wellness so much, because it always comes back full circle to the same thing. Over and over, it's all the same. Come back to wellness. Come back to wellness. Come back to wellness.
And I think because I know you have a class coming up at 3, so just even in wrapping up, I'll talk a little bit more about some of the other unique and cool physical therapy things that I'm doing right now.
Actually, before you go on, I just want to say one more thing.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, real quick, because I know something I know you would touch on too, but. Something else I'm noticing too is, as a lot of clients are coming in saying that they'll go, a lot of runners will go to some foot doctor or whatever, and they'll say, oh, you need more arch support, and they'll give them arch support, and it really bothers me because it's not taking care of the problem. So I'm like, no, you have a fundamental issue with your foot, but not just your foot, spiraling all the way up to your leg, ham, glute, everything. They're like, oh, okay. And then when I explain to them, it makes so much sense. Like, well, what if look at your quad right now? If you were to put your foot in this position where you're internally rotating, what happens? What do you feel? Like, I feel my knee, my calf, my Achilles. That's all I feel. I'm like, okay, now put it in this position and really think about like striking this way, using your pelvic floor, all these different things. Like, oh, I feel my glute and ham. I'm like, now try to run that way. Like, oh, this feels so much better. I'm like, so imagine if you're just always having the crutch of having a sole, but never, ever training the arch or training all the musculature around it. Like, what's going to happen? They're like, oh, like that's
I mean, running is a whole great podcast that I think we should actually do, because people get attached to almost like running as an expression. Like, this is how I express myself. This is my freedom. This is who I am. And it's like,
it away from me.
I'm not taking it away from you. I'm just telling you to have good posture. Don't be an asshole.
Don't be an asshole.
Eat your fiber and don't be an asshole in your running. Which, as a note, if you're going to take a fiber supplement, go Benefiber, because the Metamucil has a whole bunch of additives and dyes and just other shit in it, and will give you absolutely wretched gas. Psyllium